flow. People getting bent enough, it can look good.
Yeah, the creeks are well off behind the.
We have time for one more question. Ma'am in the back? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Della McCoy. I live at 265 Oakwood. Back about 10 years ago, I was coming home from work and it was raining so hard I couldn't see, and water just pouring down that street like it's the Ojai River. I parked my car on my driveway and I had some trash to empty. I walked over to the trash can in this other driveway with solid ice. Down I went, laid there for 45 minutes. Nobody had found me. A little 10-year-old boy found me and run down the street and got my son. It was sure, and they got the ambulance and got to him, and then I ended up in the hospital with all that water running down that street. It filled up this driveway of mine. I had this driveway built up when I bought the house. I was there, knowed all about these houses when it was built. My son helped build them. And I took lunch over to Al Schulholtz for when they was building them houses. I lived on Bingham Lane, and water just stands over my driveway when it comes down that hill, like just above his house there. The chutes down through there like the Ojai River running. I've seen it. I've got in my car and walked down there, and it's washed up her driveway out in front of her house there. Michelle, I can't think of her name. Debbie. It's washed all that out down through there. There's a place down through there that deep, right in front of her house. I looked, I thought, oh my God, somebody goes over in that, they'll tear their car up. It was bad, like the Ojai River. And I've lived on Oakwood, know all about Oakwood ever since the first house was built. And they was not built right, and it was not inspected from the beginning. Now, like them new houses that's come up, like hers, and on down through there was about 5 new houses come up with a different person to build them. But the one that Al Schulholtz built, there was not no drainage or nothing put down through there. And I know all about Al Schulholtz, know all about the houses being built. It was not built right, and it was not green right.
Thank you.
And I ended up with a broker, had to get a whole hip replacement.
We're not disagreeing. Gibson, do you
Oakwood.
have anything to say?
265 Oakwood. I was over and left a note for the mayor, you know, and she called me, and we talked about it.
I think, Art, did you have some?
I just haven't been able to come over here to the meeting.
We can get questions, write them down.
Nothing's done about it.
Ask them, we need to move on. Next on the agenda, we're talking about the property at 208 North Main Street, and that is the property that the city purchased.
No good enough, somebody don't do something about it. And like living houses like that, you probably paid off, paid somebody off. At least I don't know if you realize that. But that's what they're done.
Thank you, Mr. Harden. He's working hard for you guys.
Should have been funny. You'll be able to do that whole rent, Debbie?
Right. Any more questions for council, we can look at this and then write it down. You can always contact me.
I remember it going right down to
If you would leave that for Debbie, Mark, that's fine.
that was pure ice. And I walked over to it, and that was all she had to do.
The next thing on the agenda is the house at 208 Main Street. That is the brick home on the property that the city purchased. And just talking in general with council, just getting some ideas and comments of what you guys think should or possibly be done. I know there was an issue with the shrubs that wanted to be there, and Dwayne Wilson, the contractor that we hired, advised that the shrubs was to be removed due to the basement leaking. And either way, the shrubs had to be removed because the basement's leaking and you had to take pipe around the home. And the city keeps the house, there has to be a ditch line dug so that basement won't leak. And the shrubs are overextending the walls. So that's the reason for that, and to get in there with that dozer, you had to take the fence down. Let's start talking about what you guys think, what we think is best for the city, as council members to do with the house, or any future recommendations that you can make.
Before we go to future recommendations, I've got just a statement of how it sits today, and when they cleared it, bulldozed it, whatever you want to call it. I really feel like it should have been backdragged, where the bulldozer goes backwards. Right now, there's some ruts that I would be surprised if they even stay in the mower if you cut it. There's some pretty good, there was a lot of concrete left behind. And I'm pretty sure, I haven't walked the property, but I know where the concrete was before they seeded it and put straw over it. So now we have these blocks of concrete that are in this grass that we need to cut that piece for, just to get green space. So I don't think we're 100% done with the property. I mean, it's nothing that's going to stop it from moving on with plans, whatever we come up with. But I don't think we're done with where we want it to be, even show. If somebody wanted to buy it, tear the house down and put whatever, it's really not gonna matter then. But if we're gonna keep it for a long term, we've got some fill work to do.
But also, zone change, we need to concentrate on getting that zone change for that property in commercial. As it stands right now, trailer park can go in there, back in there. So we need to work on as councils with our attorneys to get a zone change. And I handed out that brochure that I had, Milton Real Estate, just give us an inexpensive bid based on what he thinks the property's worth or not worth. And that's in front of you, if you guys got any comments about that. It would be something that we would have to agree as council if we wanted to go in and say how much would it be to rehab that home, how much would it take?
To date, how deep are we into this project?
We're, I want to say around 291,000.
Having a comment to build on what Todd said. If I were a developer, I would want as much road frontage as possible if that was going to be an industrial or a large retail, whatever, as opposed to it being piecemeal with a house. And I agree with Todd, if we were to keep it, there would be some urban renewal. But if a developer is going to come in there, build foundations, build roads, build infrastructure for utilities, we could spend a lot of money that's just wasted on urban renewal to make the property more attractive to the buyer and reduce the buyer's cost. I would suggest that we don't do that. We see what developers would be interested in the property as a whole, the house and the surrounding property. Let them pay for the urban renewal. The estimate from Milton Real Estate seems attractive. For no basis other than gut feeling. But my suggestion would be, let's list it. Let's see what we can get. If we can find a buyer or developer over some reasonable period of time, I don't know what reasonable is, but let's pick a number, 6 months or 8 months, something like that. We can always divide it up and sell it piecemeal afterwards. But let's try to say it, sell it as a whole. I mean, the Jamie pointed out, I would think the big property is more valuable in bits and pieces for large retail or for industrial.
Now, would it be best to get that zone changed first to commercial in order for it to get a better price, you think, Joe?
I don't know. I think it's a chicken and egg thing. We could do it either way. I could argue either. I don't know.
And other council members, you know, with your ideals, bring them to the table, you know, if it's something that you think that, you know, the city would want to keep the property to put something there for kids, a park, a building, or something. You know, we can pull together our ideals. One of the things is maybe talk to the public and see what some of their responses are, their goals.
If we zone it commercial, and then somebody wants to come in, just like the apartments. Well, now we've got, and this is commercial, now we need to make it residential again. I think we need to find somebody that has an interest. Let's take the trailer park zoning off of it, but let's kind of leave it wide open. Somebody shows interest and they're really committed, then we zone it that way.
Like a commercial residential zone.
I don't know, that's 4.2 acres that the city can use for splash parks or a YMCA, something for the residents in Crittenden. I mean, I think that maybe we shouldn't be out to actually maybe sell it, but to do something for the people of Crittenden with it.
And we really need to pull together as council to maybe have a special meeting on zone change. You know, do we want the city to be on that side of town? Do we want it to be on this side of town? Do we want it to be on Main Street? Is there, you know, we need to pull together and see, you know, what we want as a city and as a community. You know, we're all spread out. You know, we have businesses on that side of town, but also it's residential with the Harvesters and other subdivision and possibly the apartment complexes coming through. Or do we just want to have the business here on Main Street? You know, there's a lot of things that this city, you know, has to look forward to. And we as a team can be a part of that. We just put our heads together and come to work and maybe have a special meeting and put some goals down that you may have. And then we can, you know, talk about it.
I'll just say, Mayor, from an economic development standpoint, for one thing, the city has cleaned that property up. It does look very nice. I meant to compliment you all on that when I was speaking. I think Grant County as a whole, the comprehensive plan has not been updated in a very long time, and we're losing out on businesses and housing developments and other things because our zoning is so scattered across the board. And so I've been pushing the judge and to work on planning and zoning, because the one thing that we hear from people is it's a whole lot easier to go to Walton and put something because it's zoned properly, it's shovel ready, and it's gonna take 8 months to get anything through Grant County. And we've got to fix that if we want to be a community that has the things that other communities have. So what you're saying is exactly on point, that it's gotta be, you really have to decide some things. Here's where we want the industry, here's where we want this for commercial, and stick to the plan. And everybody, I think a lot of times people suffer from the plans are written for everybody but me. So council has to have the wherewithal when developers and things come to say, hey, we figured that we want industry over here, so if you want to go over here, that's fine, but you can't go here because we see this as the housing sector. So I would just say you all are on the right path, but that is an issue that Grant County faces that we're really trying to address, because we will always continue to lose out to the other communities if we don't get our planning and zoning updated and make our process easier than it is right now.
I fully agree with you, and to add to that, Crittenden is this big. My biggest concern is, once we sell that land, give that land, whatever we do with it, it's gone. Just like Wolf Steel. I'm not saying anything bad about Wolf Steel, but that little piece of Crittenden is gone. We won't be able to use it for anything but Wolf Steel. I would like to see us all get together, come up with a comprehensive plan for the next 5 and 10 years. to where we have a goal, we've got a track. I've been here 22 years, and Crittenden has been, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, this is kind of a stagnant spot. We really haven't done anything. And I think it's time to change that.
Well,
But
what
we
is,
need to have sound decisions today for what we're gonna look like 10 years from now.
Been talking about comprehensive plan for about a year now, that we need that. And everything the mayor said and council said, I agree with what you're saying, but we can't do it in a vacuum. To your point, Todd, I think that comprehensive plan needs to be married with a larger comprehensive plan that Becky and the rest of the team do. But maybe we could focus the urgency. Let's get Crittenden done. Let's get it done now, because we've got a couple of developments now. One that is inconsistent with the comprehensive plan, you know, the apartment complex that we're talking about. And this one is undefined at this point. So we need to get our act together as a council. I agree with you, Mayor, that we need to do that. But I don't think we can do it in a vacuum. We need to do it with a broader comprehensive plan, because there may be some things that they're working on that we don't even know about for the future. The fellow that came and talked to us about, yeah, thank you, that had some wonderful plans. Maybe, and I'll talk to you about it, Jamie, really didn't know about the things that he was talking about. All of that needs to be part of the comprehensive plan that we're talking about. You know, if he's planning a big development, we need to have that in the back of our minds, even if it is 5 years down the road. So I'm agreeing with what you're saying. I caution us not to do that in the vacuum.
And to that point, Joe, a lot of communities will go out here and they will rezone the property, address it through the comp plan, so that today's rate, property rate doesn't change. But if a developer comes in to buy that and that's zoned industrial, the minute that's purchased, that changes. The tax rate goes to what the zone is, but it's already ready. They don't have to go through all those steps and that delay in time. So I would encourage you, as Joseph, it is part of, don't be in the vacuum, because it all plays for Grant County together. And I would add that you all have a gym in Crittenden in Grant County Park. And I know that at one point the fiscal court was talking about a splash park. Anything that we can partner together on, I think, benefits the citizens. Because at the end of the day, whether you're a tourist or a citizen, you don't really care whether Crittenden put it in or the fiscal court put it in. Do you have a splash park to play? So I would encourage you, I think there's some ways to make some partnerships, and anytime you present those when you're going for grant money and things from the state, when you were a united front, you got a whole lot better shot at getting state money and grant money to do that, so.
One more point to build on, Jamie. We had our Heritage Trail meeting last week, and there is significant money. There's archaeological issues and right-of-ways that have to be done, so drill construction's not going to start probably till the spring of the year. But the direction of where it's going to start has reversed. It's going to start at the Grant County Park here in Crittenden and go south. So to build on what Jamie says, has said, that is an advantage. The trail is going to start in the spring from Crittenden going toward Dry Ridge, and then with satellite trails going to parks and the arc. But one of the things that they're requesting from that meeting, Mayor, is people from the Heritage Trails come and do quarterly updates to this council and to the community on all the cool stuff that's about to happen. Thank you very much.
you have a question?
Oh, sorry, Mr. Stevenson.
Yeah, would it be feasible that the property next to that, if you could get it at a reasonable price, get that old house down and make it look a lot nicer, it'd be more presentable to a company?
The code enforcement officer, Ms. Woman, is here tonight. She has spoke with Pat Stanley, the owner. He advised on the 30th, that's today, that it will be taken down. After a few phone calls to Dwayne Wilson, he did not advise he was taking that down today. He said it'd be the first week of August. So we still have our fingers crossed, and we've been putting you know, putting the pressure on them to get that down, and hopefully by the end of next week, it may be down, because Dwayne, she was supposedly to hire Dwayne Wilson, the same guy that did the property for us, to tear that house down. And I promise you, community, we're trying, we're pushing, Juana's pushed, I pushed, Alex has pushed. And, you know, it's hard when somebody's in litigation and there's two property owners possibly, you know, so we are working on that. That is something that you could bring to the council and to see if they would be interested in purchasing that property to be part of the big property. Maybe, possibly they would want to see.
I don't know how much property there, but it seems like it maybe a bigger piece would
Right.
be more appetizing.
I have to agree with you.
Did he put a number on that?
No, there's no, we're just right now focusing on pressuring them to get it tore down, to get it out of the city, and it's a danger as well, you know, the kids that are in that. Any other questions or comments? I think in the future, after next Tuesday night's meeting, maybe we can plan a special meeting one night and talk about the property at 208 more in depth, and the comprehensive plan, and what the city wants for the zone changes, if any.
I would like to invite Jamie to that.
Yes. Thank you very much. Anyone else on 208 property? Okay, council, we have some updating the ordinance regarding animals. We have an ordinance that needs to be updated, of course. We could present some comments, some questions, some things to our attorneys that we can maybe follow up this ordinance and get it going in reference to the city's problems with domestic farmyard animals. Anybody wants to start talking about that and what you think should be done in reference to that ordinance? It's kind of cut and dry, you know, if we want to sit down and put our heads together, or if you just want to get a quotation of what animals should be kept in the city limits, chickens, potbelly pigs, we've had that issue. Just make an ordinance to protect the city, the community, your neighbors, and so forth from things coming into the community that might offer a smell that's not appreciated, or noise making that's such as roosters and things like that. And, you know, we do live in the country, but yet we're in the city, you know, where it's kind of difficult, and people, you know, it's time that we put some ordinances like that together.
I'm going down and get me a rooster.
I think we need to have some kind of ordinance with at least 2 acres of land to have potbelly pig, chickens. I personally don't want chickens in the neighborhood, but
Well, we have to see what the county ordinance states about that as well, because they may say you can have it, if it's not the city limits, you might be able to have chickens and so forth on half an acre. You know, we have to work with the county on zoning ordinance there and see what they say, and then go from there.
No exotic animals either. It's untelling. I mean,
I just can't see chickens in partridge. As tight as they are, that's just not.
Well, and we
Or pigs.
Probably pigs, any type of pig, yeah. Chickens. All right, well, we'll put our minds together on that and just, you know, work on what you think should be in that ordinance and.
Question for the attorney, too. Do you have a provide or similar community that would be source of Are there other cities that we could use as an example to start by? Edit and cut and paste?
It's endless. I mean, it's endless. Most cities are course restricted. So the question is how do you marry agricultural, semi-agricultural with your community? It's a preference. tell us. I mean, it's,
Joe, you can direct that same question to the
Well,
Dry
that's,
Ridge Mayor.
that's both.
No, Dry Ridge Mayor. They would have one that's already set up here, you just cut and paste.
They got a city council member who has chickens in their house.
Maybe we don't want to ask.
Let's not answer
Alex is right, most towns would have this. It's not an issue that I dealt with when I worked with Dry Ridge, so I'm not familiar with what they have. Looking at Dry Ridge and Williamstown would probably give us a pretty good idea of where we need to be. I would think maybe Dry Ridge doesn't have that much chickens as Williamstown does.
Your suggestions in dialogue first before starting.
oh, I mean, you all have to reach a consensus. I mean, ultimately, you have to pass an ordinance. So if you pass an ordinance, you're gonna have dialogue amongst each other. So we could propose as many ordinances as you want, but really, it's a policy decision. I mean, what's appropriate in this town is different than what's appropriate in Cincinnati or Duke. So I think that's where it starts. Who is gonna take the lead on saying, okay, we're thinking these animals are acceptable and these animals are not?
Just pit bulls, monkeys, rabbit ears, so ordinances for different population of cities as well.
Can I add something?
Sure.
Also, when you do that, can we put like a limited number of dogs or a limited number, you could say dogs and cats are fine, but then you might have a person that may have 25, 30 cats. I would not want to live next to that either. So think about, I'm just throwing it out as a thought, think about putting a number in there, and also maybe the type of dogs. We need to really think about that also.
I've seen a lot of pit bulls,
Yes.
and harvesters, lots, and they are big. And it's like, I agree with you.
I agree with your point, but I also, how do I want to word this? I'm not a big fan of government telling me too much of what I can do and what I can't. But I see what you're saying, is you don't want little old lady with 40 cats running. Yeah, I understand everything, but can you really put a number on it?
Absolutely.
I think so.
I think
That's
so
how-
too.
That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, but some of this too, not saying that you shouldn't put it on road, would also be covered by the nuisance ordinance. We've had a couple of cases recently in district court that were violations of nuisance ordinance involving animals. It may only be two, but those two cause a lot of trouble. And those folks were charged and brought in and the situation dealt with. So some of these issues fall into that, could be addressed even without this ordinance, but that's up to the council to do.
What we're dealing with in the harvesters is, there's a lot of duplexes and apartment complexes, and when they leave their 10 cats unspayed to mate, and they have more. And then you're finding kittens under your car, under your garbage cans. I mean, it's just, I'm just saying that we really do need to make a hefty ordinance about this and how many animals they can have.
Mr. Schmidt, you have a question?
With the whole dog issue, like for instance pit bulls, not necessarily regulate the fact that you can't have pit bulls, because it's they're known to be vicious breeds, but it's all about how you raise them. If the owner's gonna raise it by abusing it and stuff like that, well, sure they're gonna act out and they're gonna attack somebody. But if you raise it like you're supposed to raise an animal, any dog can be a vicious breed. If it's
Yes, I understand what you're saying.
At one time, I do believe the county had an ordinance that if you had a certain number of animals, you were required to get a kennel license. That would allow, if you look into that, that would allow the city to have some control over code enforcement. Because if they weren't in compliance with, if they had 10 dogs and it was 5 that you could have, then you could cite them. And sometimes when you hit people in the wallet, you make them a little bit more responsible. But I know at one time the county did have an X number that you had to get a kennel license beyond that, with some penalties attached to it.
And we'll be working on that as well. Next on the agenda, we was wanting to discuss an ordinance regarding Airbnbs coming into the city, and council, you have that proposed ordinance there to look at and to refer back to. One thing that we did have one or two couples that were interested in having an Airbnb, so we've had to possibly draw up an ordinance. I think the county already has got together an ordinance for Airbnb, but the city needs to do that as well. I do want to recommend that we work quickly on that and take a look at that, because they've been trying to come into the city, and we need to add some stipulations. And if you read that, this ordinance here is from the Dry Ridge zoning code, and kind of take a look at that on your spare time and figure out, what we want to do as a council to put restrictions on there and enforcement. Yes, go ahead.
I called the city of Williamstown, and what you see that says city of Williamstown on it, this is just a page out of their zoning book. They have it as a conditional use. And they chose to do that because then it's a conditional use. It would have to go, if anybody wanted it, would have to go before the Board of Adjustments to get that conditional use, so you have a little more control over it. But that's why there's no ordinance for Williamstown, because it's just a conditional use. And I think they put it in quite a few of their zones, so you'd have to decide which zones.
Couldn't we just adopt the additional use, the conditional use for Williamstown?
Do you want to just adopt that conditional use, or do you want to add or take away? As council, we need to, I know I would like to take a closer look at it to see what all they have wrote in there. But I don't think it's out of question.
No, you may want to add a little bit to it, and Mr. Bachman may want to address this. I know that when I was still at Dry Ridge, we had at least one case of someone who brought in what looked like almost a tour bus and created parking problems for the neighborhood. They had, I don't know how many people in that house. And I noticed here that they've made some changes that based on the number of bedrooms, how many people you can have. So I think that my suggestion would be that there would probably be a need for an ordinance to control those types of issues. Something nobody thought about it until it happened. And we had some very angry neighbors.
I will say that Laura at Williamstown said that was one of the reasons they did conditional use, because they could go out and see, like, did they only have 2 places to park cars? Were they gonna show up with 10 cars and nowhere to park?
Do we know what Williamstown's conditional use permit passes on in family from generation to generation, so
I can ask Laura.